We're on volume 23. We're on page 37. We're in the middle of the Shir on Rosh Chodesh, and we're dealing with Birkat HaLevana, and we're dealing with the source for Birkat HaLevana. In source 17 on page 37, there's Gemara, Masechus Sanhedrin Membeis Amud Aleph. Anyone who makes a bracha on the Chodesh and its proper time, it's as if he greeted the Shechina. That's why you say it standing. That's why you want to say it not under a roof. You want to go be mikabel the Shechina directly and not be under a house or an awning or something like that. We're going to get into those halachas soon. Where do we get this from? It says over here about the new moons. You use the word zeh. And then when they were in the Yam, they said zeh, keli, ve'anveu, zeh and zeh, gzer shava. Just like over there, they said zeh, keli, ve'anveu. They were pointing at Hashem, so to speak. So too, HaChodesh hazeh, it also has to do with the Shechina. And so a person who says the bracha of Birkat HaLevana Bismana as if he was Mekabel the Pnei Ashchina. Tana Devei Rabbi Yishmael. The Academy of Yishmael taught as follows: Ilmaleh lo zachu Yisrael hakbil pnei aviyen sheb'shemaim kol chodesh v'chodesh dayam. If the only mitzvah the Jews would have is to be mekabel the Shechina by being mevarech hachodesh every single month, dayam, that would have been enough. It's a huge mitzvah. That would have been enough. It would have been sufficient for them. Yeah, you have Zachu Bayu over here? I'm looking in the art scroll, so he has the word loy. And we have it says lo zachu. Yeah, so our girsa has they bring it in the parentheses over here. So a different girsa. Okay. Amar Abaya hilkach nimrinhu mi'omad. Therefore, we say it standing. You're mekabel the Shechina. It's such a huge mitzvah. And that would be enough to praise Hashem because you had mekabel the Shechina. So that's huge enough, right? So therefore, stand up. Meimar Marzutra machtefi varchei. Meimar and Marzutra, when they were older and they were weak, they had people support them so they can be standing and saying the Birkat HaLevana. Amar leRavacha leRavashi. So now we get a little bit into the bracha. Amar leRavacha leRavashi b'ma'arava in Eretz Yisrael. Mivarche, they say the blessing of what? Baruch mechadesh chodashim. Now, the Gemara brought down the bracha in Eretz Yisrael. It's to say Baruch mechadesh chodashim. It doesn't say Hashem's name here, and it's a very short bracha. So Amar Ravashi said to them, Rashi to Ravacha, Ha noshe didan nami mivarche. Our women say this bracha. All right, this is a woman's bracha. Sort of saying, some Mefarshim explain, sort of saying this is a bracha that is not powerful. What type of bracha is this? Baruch Mechalish Chodashim, and especially if you learn the Gemara that it's without Shem Umalchus, even a woman, Birkat HaLevana, if you want to say it's Mr. Zman Groma, and you want to pass like the Svarim, like the Rambam, that you can't say Shem Umalchus, this bracha you can say Baruch Mechalish Chodashim. This is a woman's bracha. This is not a special bracha. The Eila to Rabbi Yehuda. You want to know what the bracha is? So Amar Rabbi Yehuda, as Rabbi Yehuda said, Baruch Atah Hashem Ken Melech Olam, Asher b'ma'amaroi bara shechakim, who has created the heavens with utterances, b'ma'amaroi, with speaking, uvruach piv kol tziva'am, and with the breath of his mouth, all the legions, all the stars, all the universe, all the galaxies. Chai kuzman natan lahem shelo yishanu et tafkidam. A decree and a schedule he gave them that they should not alter their assigned task. No moon, no sun, no star decides I'm taking a vacation today, I'm going that way. And they're on a schedule, and they keep going on that schedule. Sasim usmechim la'asot ritzon konam. They are joyous and glad to perform the will of their owner. They're glad and happy to do Hashem's will. Now, in our Gemaras, the lashon is po'alei emet, shepulatan emet. They are the workers of truth, whose work is truth. What do we say in our Birkat HaChodesh when we make the bracha? We say po'alei emet.
This is very, very close to what we say.
Oh, it's very close. I'm not saying it's not. What did we say? Because there's a Tosfos here, but I just want to see the Tosfos is based on what we say here also. So we say po'el emet, shepu'ulato emet, not po'olei emet. What's the difference?
Because it's one. Po'el.
So
Po'el is one.
Right, and what's po'alei?
Po'alei is the plural.
Who are they talking about? So po'alei, you're talking about the moon and the stars and all those stuff. Po'el emet is talking about Kadosh Baruch Hu. So the Tosfos on the page, you don't have the Tosfos in your books, but the Tosfos on the page says po'alei emet. They don't change their way. And then it says Tosfos is the garis, and there are those who have a girsa to say po'al emet va'al hakadosh baruch hu, and it's talking about a Kadosh Baruch Hu that Kadosh Baruch Hu created with truth, and everything Hashem creates is emet. Okay, so a little bit of different girsa than what the Gemara has.
Oh, you know what? Because over here it says it starts with Kadosh Baruch Hu and then goes to the stars and others, but we continue with Hashem.
Right. So the girsa that we have, we can bring our girsa into this Gemara. Po'al emet.
Just continue praising Hashem.
The worker of truth, right?
Continue praising Hashem.
Shepo'alato emet. His work is truth. But HaLevana amar shetitchadesh. And to the moon, he said that it should renew itself. Ateret teferet lamusei v'aten shehen atidin lidchadesh kemota. And a crown of splendor for those born from him, from the womb, who are destined to renew themselves like it. Just like us, we're also going to renew ourselves. And to glorify the molder for the name of his glorious kingdom. Baruch atah Hashem. And you see here, this time it says Shemu Malchus. Baruch atah Hashem mechadesh chodashim. Okay? So that is the beracha that Rav Ashi told Rav Acha, that is our beracha here that we say. We say a long beracha. It has Hashem's name on it, and it's more of a kavadik beracha. Okay. Say again. Okay. Ateret, the crown of splendor. La'amuse vatin, for those born by him from the womb.
This moon, the mitzvah, what's the crown?
Is a metaphor, a sign to the Jews that they too will eventually be restored to their former grandeur. That's what Rashi says. That we also, our crown will come back. Right? Like they said, like Shlomo HaMelech was the 15th, right? That was the highest, the moon is full, and then it, waned again, and then it's going to wax again and come back and big like that. That's the idea.
You didn't say this time the Mikdash, right?
I think when this bracha started, I don't have that for you. The Gemara seems to have a question what the bracha is, and it seems to be Rav Acha said they just said Baruch Mechadesh Chodashim, and Rashi said no, there's a huge bracha. So it might be a bracha that was formulated somewhere in the Talmudical times, the Mishnah times. Possibly. Some say that the Birkat HaLevana actually was in place of, it was like a remembrance for when they did Kiddush Levana. Like with Ashkenazim, they call Birkat HaLevana Kiddush Levana. What's Kiddush Levana? Kiddush HaChodesh. They used to make Kiddush HaChodesh. The witnesses would come and say, this for the moon. And you Mekadesh the Chodesh. So, because of Mekadesh the Chodesh, they want to call it Kiddush Levana. It's in lieu, somewhat, you can say, Rami was trying to say that when this bracha started, maybe that's why they call it Kiddush Levana, in lieu of being Mekadesh the Chodesh, the way they did in the past, and afterwards they made Kiddush Levana.
Kiddush Levana is good. You know why? Because every Chodesh, she comes new again. It's like you Mekadesh a woman. It's a new. new.
Yeah.
Mekadesh, Kiddush.
You Mekadesh every day?
Yeah,
Yes,
every
you
month.
do. You do.
Once a month.
Once a month. Okay.
No, a woman, after she Mekadesh, but
No, the Rogachover said that
the moon is disappear and then comes back.
the Rogachover was clearing if you Mekadesh a woman, is it a one-time thing or is something that's Mekadesh every single time? He explained afterwards that it is a continuous Mekadesh. It's a continuous Kedushin that goes on. It's Mekadesh every moment. Anyway, the Aruch HaShulchan says, Kiddush Levana is a hu inyan gadol v'nari kekavalas pnei ashchina. It's huge. You're mikabel the shchina. And why are we now? I want to know why are we mikadesh the chodesh, the month, the moon, versus any other celestial being? So he says, okay, it's closer than any other star. Uva near us lanu, and we can see it tangibly, the greatness, the fact that it comes out and its path and all that, it kind of wakes us up. It kind of gives us a feeling of the greatness. And then he says, nikras yareach. That's why the moon is called yareach, because it's yerach. It goes around every month. And the Jewish people, we count with the moon because we're linked to the moon. Just as the moon has no light and the light comes from the sun, so too we Jews have no power or light except from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so that is why we choose the moon to make the bracha on. We're not using any other celestial thing to do the bracha on except for the moon. Now, Shnei Luchot Abarit, so the Shelah HaKadosh, says, even according to the Ashkenazim, that women usually can say a bracha on a mitzvah shizman grama. On this mitzvah of Birkat HaLevana, the woman should not say. So even according to the Ashkenazim, usually the woman can say mitzvah, say a bracha on a mitzvah aseh shizman grama. Here the Shlosh says they should not do it. And he says because the moon's becoming smaller and all that is all due to Chava. What's our problem with that statement of the Shloh?
The sun and the moon is saying you should not right to Shabbat to the same.
When was that? On what day was that? Day 4, no? And Chava is not created to 6. So why are we blaming Chava for this? So there are those who ask this question on the Shloh. I haven't seen a satisfying answer to it. I know that he's picking on Chava. He says a woman shouldn't say the bracha. However, I'll tell you what others say. First of all, the Meiri says the woman could say the bracha with the Shem Hashem. We don't pass like the Meiri. And others explain.
I never saw a woman saying Birkat.
Right, because the halacha is everyone, even Ashkenazim, hold the woman should not say bracha Birkat HaLevana. There's a Magen Abraham in Siman Reish Tzaddik Vav, Sivkot and Yudalef. He says, "Shedavka mitzvah sheyesh ba ma'aseh kegoin sukkah, nashim mikayemot umevarachot." If it's a mitzvah that there's something to do, that you're doing something, okay, of a mitzvah she'ein bo ma'aseh ki im beracha, just a beracha, kegoin Birkat HaLevana, en nashim umevarachot. They do not say the beracha. So the Magen Abraham says, even though by Ashkenazim, women usually can say a bracha mitzvah aseh shman grama, that's only if it's a mitzvah aseh that you actually do something. But just to say a bracha, the woman does not have the right to say that.
So the woman, they're deciding what to do?
No, if the mitzvah is doable, something to do in the mitzvah, they can say the bracha. If it's a mitzvah, just look at the moon and say a bracha, that is Shvirat HaOmer. Also, the women are not to say the bracha.
They're saying.
They should not be saying the bracha. Even
Ashkenazim,
I believe even Ashkenazim they're not supposed to say. But I can't recall for sure. I know definitely for us, but I believe even for them they said the woman should not count the with the bracha. Okay. So anyway, so on ladies, just to talk a moment on ladies, before the ladies here, what should they do? There's actually an interesting Ben Ish Chai And the Ben Ish Chai, we all know, he wrote a sefer for the ladies. Okay, he wrote a special sefer for the ladies. In Arabic, correct?
Well, everything he wrote in Arabic.
Okay, and in that sefer, I saw in here.
Yeah, a lot. On those days, we were having a lot.
Right.
The Rambam also wrote everything I think in Arabic.
Okay, so I have the translation of that work by the Ben Ish Chai in English, and he writes over here what the woman should do for Birkat HaLevana. Women do not recite the blessing of the moon. Instead, they should say Baruch Mechadesh Chodashim, and then they should say B'Siman Tov, Shteilanu Yisrael, like we say over there about the Siman Tov. It should be B'Siman Tov. It should be with a good sign. And no, you didn't bring them dancing for them. Okay, that's what he says.
The dance after the bracha.
Yeah, and we also should. But yeah, that's what the Ben Ish Chai writes in his Chokn Nashim. He writes that that's what they should say. Oh wait, I think I saw it over here. Also, hold on. 936. Yeah. Here. So Siman Tov Tielanu Ulechol Yisrael. So the Ben Ish Chai wants to say Baruch B'Chadash Chodashim, and then say B'Siman Tov Tielanu Ulechol Yisrael 3 times, and that's the ladies' Birkat HaLevana. So if any lady asks you what to do, or if you want to instruct them, that's from the Ben Ish Chai what the woman should do for Birkat HaChodesh. Okay. Okay, we dealt with that. Fine. Some want to say that because there's a pegam in the moon, and the woman caused the pegam in humankind, therefore she shouldn't say the bracha. It's not that she caused the moon to be lessened, but rather since she's associated with the pegam, so we don't want her to say that. And others say the reason is because in order to be kabel the shechina, you're supposed to go out, right? And by a woman, it's called kevodah, bat melech, tenima. You want her inside, so therefore we don't want her to go out and to do birkat hachodesh. Okay, birkat HaLevana. Fine. So that's on that. Now we're going to start with the first real halachic concept here. Is when Birkat HaLevana be recited at first? When's the earliest time? I'm going to divert your attention for one moment to page 44 in the books, and it's really a Gemara, and the Gemara doesn't really say anything about the beginning. Gemara says, which means, simply meaning, until when can you say Birkat HaChodesh, Birkat HaLevana? Until the missing part is filled in. Okay, so that's the whole Gemara that talks about until when. So there really is no Gemara that talks about from when can you start saying it. So there's, before we get into Talmid Rabbeinu Yoina, you should know that the Rambam, okay, the Rambam, and including this Rambam is the Meiri, the Smak, Sefer HaKana, the Rikanti, and others, even the Dat Harif, they want to say, is that you can start saying the bracha of Kiddush Levana, Birkat HaLevana, on the first night. First night. One night in. That's it. So one night from the Molad. The Molad is, okay?
Who's saying?
Rambam and many others. Now, we're going to start off with our Tzurba on page 41, source 20. Tamid Rabbeinu Yoina. And Tamid Rabbeinu Yoina say that you want to say it, Ritzonu Leimer Misha'a Shemetok Ha'or Shalava Adam Nehena Mimenu Shazehu Achar Bet Yamim O Gimel. But something that's a ben yoymai mitoch ketanoto ain't a or shalom mitoch shein adam nehena mimenu. So, Talmid Rabbeinu Yoina said that you want to wait 2 or 3 nights, because then it starts to get a little bright.
Right.
So, and then you're going to enjoy it more. So that's when you should say the bracha. That's Tamid Rabbeinu Yoina. Now the Bet Yosef, he brings from Rabbi Yosef Katilia, the author of the Sharei Ora, and he writes, "Al pi Kabbalah, ein levarech chiddush levana ad she'averu aleya zayin yomim." You need 7 days. According to some Kabbalistic concepts, there's certain klipos in the moon until day 7. You have to get 7 days to go through for 7 days means so you have 724 hours from the molad. 724 hours from the molad. And that's when you can start saying Birkat HaLevana according to the Kabbalistic approach. Now, the Shulchan Aruch goes with it. Take a look on page 42. Until 7 days, 7 me'et la'etz from the molad passes. Now, before we move on, I want to let you know that the Ramah Mipano says you see it in the Gemara itself. So go back to page 44, which was the Gemara. And the Ramah Mipano says when the question is Ad Kam Mevarachem LaChodesh, wasn't when until when, but from when to when. That's the way the Ramah Mipano wants to learn the Gemara.
Oh.
Ad Kama, from when to when can Mevarachem LaChodesh? Ad Shetitmale Pegimita, you know when? From when it fills in its missing parts. Right? Because at day 7, the Gemara is going to tell us, at day 7, it fills in like a bow. At day 7, you have half a moon. Right? Half a moon. It looks like a bow and arrow. Right? The bow part, that's a half. That's what you have at 7. At 15, you have a full moon. So when the Gemara said, from when to when can you answer it? So Amr Yaakov Idi, Amr Yehuda at Shiva. You start from 7. And they're Hade Amre Ashisha Asar, and you go up until 16. So they're not arguing until when, but rather they're both stating from when to when. That's the way the Ramah Mipano wants to learn. Many disagree and say you're forcing it. Right. You're forcing it into the words.
No, it's like the halacha today.
You're forcing it into the words of the Talmud. But again, I think it's an ingenious way to learn it to fit it. But let's take a look further. Mishnah Berurah, source 42. The Mishnah says, but Rabbi Chaim argue with this. For the Dayu and for the Ashkenazim, Akopanim la'achar gimel yamim me'et le'et. So 72 hours after, you can start saying the Birkat HaLevana according to the Ashkenazim, says the Mishnah Berurah.
So it's charcoal.
Eggplant is Adama.
Adama.
Okay. Yaakov Yosef says you shouldn't say Birkat HaLevana until 7 days. You want 7 etlaets to pass by. We should be makpid like that. We call Malcolm Yaakov Yosef, source 24. Im cheseres kama shalat the motzei Shabbos lehishlemes shivas yamim shleimim es leis ain't tzarich lahachmir b'zeh. Says the Yaakov Yosef. Let's say it's Motzei Shabbat and it's 6 days in and it's 12 hours or whatever. It's not 7 complete 24 hours since the mulad. He says you can already start saying it. And especially in the winter months and stuff like that, especially because you want to do it Motzei Shabbat, so you don't have to actually have 7/7, which means is the Yaakov Yosef is learning, like he usually does, that even though Kabbalah says you have to wait till 7, halacha me'ikar hadin is 3. Even though the Rabbeinu Yonah said 2 or 3, most poskim grab the 3. Although there are some poskim that want to say Rabbeinu Yonah meant 4 and 5. But anyway, right price can say 3 nights in mikar hadin. You can start saying Birkat HaLevana.
Here in America, in the winter especially,
right?
It's not good to wait until 7.
But those who go with Kabbalah, like the Mordechai Eliyahu and his Mamre Mordechai says, Adib shikadisha beyachid bizmana shikadisha b'tzibor kom shavru shiva yamim. Says Mordechai Eliyahu, you better wait till 7. Say it on your own without a minyan, and wait till 7. Then rather do it at 3 nights in with a minyan. And the Ben Ish Chai also wants you to do it at 7, but again, Chamuvadja says Birkat Hadin 3 is good. You should wait till 7. You should be makbid on it. But at times that you have to. It's the winter times. You're not going to have another moon, or it's Motzei Shabbat, and it's 6 days in and a little 12 hours. So then, fine. Okay, in your world, it rains more in the summer, so then you can do it. You can do it. You can be makel then. Okay. Shulchan Aruch also wants us not to do Birkat HaLevana except on Motzei Shabbat. Take a look in source 26. When you are in a festive mood and you're wearing nice clothes. Remember, what is Birkat HaLevana? The Gemara said, it's Mikabel Shekhinah. If you're Mikabel the Shekhinah, how do you want to come to Mikabel Shekhinah? In your loafers and your PJs? Or Mikabel Shekhinah in your fine, festive, Saturday best clothing? Okay? So that's why you want to do it on Motzei Shabbat when you're in a festive mood. You just, had a good Sudah Shilishi. Ravami spoke beautiful stories, and now you're ready to come out and say Kiddush Levana, right? In a festive mode. And the Ramah says, listen, this is very true and very good, but if you are going to wait for Motzei Shabbat and you're coming to the end game, the end time, regular word,
you lose it.
Then you might lose it because in Motzei Shabbat might not be a good night, and then you're not going to get it. So therefore, he says, if the evening after Shabbat is before the 10th, then we would wait. But if it comes after that, we should not wait because it might be clouds and 2-3 nights, and you might not be able to say it. So again, it plays out with, yes, the best time is Motzei Shabbat to say Birkat HaLevana, but in the end of the day, you got to use your seichel. If it's not going to be a good night to say it on, clouds, rain, shmains, whatever it is, then say it in advance or say it after and make sure you end up. Correct. And the Alka Joseph says, in country where there are clouds most of the month, and there's a concern, okay, so comes out from this section, Ikar Hadin, one can say Birkat HaLevana after three et la'etz, okay, which means 24 hours, 72 hours after the Molad. Okay?
Good to hear that.
But one should be makbid for Sfaradim. We should be makbid to say it after 7. But we have to take into consideration everything else that is going around. Let me just see anything else I wanted to add on over here. If a person has to say it on a weekday, he should dress nicely when he's saying it. Motzei Yom Tov, such as Motzei Shavuot. Usually Motzei Yom Tov is usually after the 15th. Shavuot is on the Vav and Zayin, right, for us. So we have after. You can say Birkat HaLevana. Do I have to put Motzei Shabbat or can I say Motzei Shavuot? So Motzei Yom Tov is like Motzei Shabbat. You're festive. You're in good clothing.
So,
one can say it then.
So Motzei Yom Kippur, we should bring our shoes with us to show, to put it on right after. If the moon is clear.
One can say it right after Motzei Yom Kippur as well.
Everybody said that Motzei Yom Kippur.
Some say you should say before Yom Kippur once it's already 7, because you want to chaperan mitzvot before Yom Kippur. I want to get every mitzvah I could in before. They're different customs.
They do Motzei Yom Kippur.
Okay, so he dealt with when we can start. Right. So you want to get it. It's supposed to be Kabbalah Pnei Shechina. It's supposed to be festive. It's supposed to be exciting. So some people are excited after Yom Kippur. They just got cleansed. Exactly. I have Kedusha, I have Kapara, I have Tahara. I can go out and say it. Some people, we need to eat a little bit beforehand. So that's also fine. Right. So after Tisha B'Av, some people are excited that they don't, the restrictions are being uplifted slowly. Maybe that's their festive. But everything has to be done with some seichel. Okay, now we're going to deal with when is the latest time one can say Birkat HaLevana. Okay? So we saw this Gemara. We're going to look at it again. Amra, so on page 44, source 29. Remember, Rabbi Chanina, Amra Asi, Amra Yochanan. We're going to learn Pashut the way the Gemara means. Until when can you say Birkat HaChodesh, Birkat HaLevana? Until it fills in the missing part of the moon. Amr Yaakov Bar Idi Amr Yehuda Ad Shiva. The Hade Amrei Ad Shisha Asar B'Tervai Rabbi Yochanan Tzur Lahu, and they both hold like Rabbi Yochanan. Ha L'mayu Ki Yitra. The one holds like a bow, and one holds like a sieve. Okay, which pretty much means what is full? What is a full moon? When I tell you full moon, you think of a full moon as being a big circle. So that goes up on the night 15. 15 nights, 15, 24 hours into the molad, you have a full moon. Okay? There's no werewolves, don't worry. Full moon, 15. The other way of looking at a full moon is like when it's a half a moon, right? It doesn't look like it's missing something. When it's a crescent, just the banana, right? You can see the inside is missing. When it's half full, it's full. It's a half a moon shape. It's a full shape. So that's what that's the first opinion. I get a full half a moon, and the other one is no, I get a full moon. That's when it's full, and that's when I can say the bracha. So he said ad shisha asar, until the 16th. So the Shulchan Aruch, by the way, says ad emasami varchan aleya ad tezayin miyom molad. You can say it 16 nights in from the molad, but velo tezayin bechlal. The 16th is not included. 16th is not included. It's 15 nights from the molad. So 15, 24 hours from the molad, that's when the Birkat HaChodesh has to be said by. If it's not, you missed it. That's what Shulchan Aruch says. Okay? 15, 24 hours from the molad. The Mishnah Berurah, he says, Lavdafka miyoim el mishat hamolad maninan. We counted from the molad, from the conjunction of the moon. Okay? That's the time that we start. So it's 15, 24 hours. You do 15 times 24. How much hours is that? Someone take out a calculator. I'm not good with math. 15 times 24.
360.
360? Beautiful. Okay. So I'm going to go to all my math questions to you now. Okay, so 360. So 360 hours from the molad. That's until when you can say Birkat HaLevana. Obviously, you have to say it at nighttime. Okay, but 360 hours. That is your thing. So you have from 72 hours to 360 hours. That is the time for Birkat HaLevana. 72 hours is 3 days in. The earliest is 72 hours. 7 times 24? Come on. 169. Okay. So from 168. So from 168 to 360, that is the prime time to say Birkat HaLevana. If you need, you can bump it up from 72. But that is the time frame. From the molad. There is a Ramah, and the Ramah says, no. You do not have 15 complete molad, 15, 24 hours. You don't have the 360 hours. It's a little bit less. Okay? Why? He says, how much is a full lunar cycle? The month moves how much? 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 chalakim. So he says, after half, you have to divide that in half. At the half point, that's when it's full. Once it's past full, you can't say anymore Birkat HaChodesh because now it starts getting less.
14
Correct. 14 days. 18 hours and 22 minutes. The way the article calculates it. Other calculated at 14 days, 20 hours, and 26 minutes. So it's not 15 complete 24 hours according to the Ramah. So many Ashkenazim hold like this Ramah, and they would have to stop saying Birkat HaLevana earlier. Okay? They would have to say it a couple of hours earlier before us. They would have to stop Because Ramah says at the halfway point, that's when it's completely full. And then anything after that is left, and it's not coveted to be covered the Shekhinah when the moon is already on its way becoming less. Let's take a look at the Isha Yisrael. And he writes, it's permitted to recite Kiddush HaLevana only until the 15 full days from the time of the conjunction. And then it starts to get less, and it's not in the state of renewal, and that's not the time to Kiddush HaLevana. And some hold it has to be up to half of the 29 days, 12 hours, and 793 parts, halakim, like the Ramah. What happens if a person didn't say it, and 24 hours already passed, or 14 days, 20 hours, or whatever it is passed, and now it's the 16th? So there is one shita, Taisus Rabbeinu Peretz, that says, listen, where are you coming and telling me Tet Zayin is not included? The Gemara said, when can I say it till? Ad Shishasar. Shishasar means and the 16th. The Taisus Rabbeinu Peretz allows you to say it on the 16th. However, since it's a Das Yochim, and Safik Barachot Lahakel, so therefore, what we say is if a person didn't say it by the 16th, he could say it on the 16th without Shem Malchut, without Hashem's name in there. But after the 16th, he cannot say it at all. So the 16th, 24th hour afterwards, you can still say without Shem Malchut, but after that, you cannot say, even without Shem Malchut, we don't want you to be saying Birkat HaLevana. Okay? So that is, Avutai, the end time of saying Birkat HaLevana. Just read it to you from Rabbi Nachshon Sefer over here. It is permitted to recite Birkat HaLevana until 15 days from the Molad, which is the time when the moon becomes full. After this time, the moon begins to appear smaller, and the bracha may no longer be recited. However, one may recite it without using Hashem's name in the bracha on the 16th day from after the Molad. Okay. Let's say, here's an interesting case, and Yaakov Joseph brings this case as well. It was the 15th night, okay? It's still in the time of the Molad. It's still within the time of the Molad, 24 hours. So it's not 360 hours yet. But it turned Alot HaShachar at hour, let's say, 3:58, okay? It turned Alot HaShachar. Birkat HaLevana is a night mitzvah. You have to say it at night when you say the Levana. It's Alot HaShachar, but it's before Netz. It's before Netz. It's after Alot, before Netz, within the time of the Molad. I could still see the moon. It's already getting lighter. Light. The Netz, it's light already outside. Right before Netz. Can I say Birkat HaLevana with the bracha, Shem Malchut, and everything? What are we passing? No, we could. You can say it. He may even recite bracha with Hashem's name until Netzahama. So until Netzahama. Halachically, until Netz. Better to do it for Alot. Because the Netz, Alot, you're already dealing with other things. But you have, halachically, you can say up to Netz. He doesn't mention it here, but we'll just bring it down. When should you start saying Birkat HaLevana? At what point at the night? So technically, you should say it from Tzet HaKochavim. But once after Shkia, if a person said at that time, b'diavad, that will work. And sometimes, if you know it's a very clear moon, right after Shkia, right, in Benish Mashot, and if I wait till Tzet, I know it's going to become clouds and rainy and stuff like that, and you're coming to one of the last days, you'll be permitted to say it, even though to say it right after Shkia, because that is some time of a nighttime. We consider it, right? Person will be able to say it there as well. Okay. Let's deal with some other halachot that you bring down here in the Tzurba. We're on page 46.
So the first night of Sukkot, first night of Pesach, person didn't have a chance yet. They could say it on that first night of the holiday.
It is, so the first night is
15.
within the 24 hours.
Yes,
then you'll be allowed to say it. Yes.
Say it on Yom Tov itself.
With
a nice clothes on.
Yes. You can say it anytime if you don't have nice clothes, but it's better to say with nice clothes on. And if it's within the 360 hours from the Molad, then one can say the Beracha, no problem. And if it's after, right, you can say it without the Shem Malchut for that next day. Okay. Now, the Shulchan Aruch says, number one thing is, you have to be able to see. Haro'eh levana. You have to see the levana. Then you mevarich asher b'mamaro b'rosh hakim. The Ramah says you should not say kiddush levana under a roof, and we explained already. You're under a roof, tachat agag. You should not say kiddush levana. Why is that? Why should not? When you say b'kei levana, you're being mekabel pnei shechina. You're accepting. You're receiving the shechina, so to speak. When you receive somebody, you say hi from your door. If you're inside the house and you're waving outside, you go out. The shechina is outside. You got to go outside. So therefore, you don't want to be tachat agag.
So how you daven in shul? Tachat agag.
It's different. The moon in its renewal is mekabel pnei shechina. In the shul, that's the makom tefillah. Two different things. The Beit Hadash, the Bach, he says it's not respectful, right? The Enze derech kavod el yotzim mitachat hagag l'toch harachov kederech yotziin l'kal pnei hamelech sheyotziin l'karto. When you go to call the king, you're going to go out to greet him. You're not going to wait in your house. But the Mishnah Berurah in source 37 on page 47 says someone who has somewhat of sickness and it's uncomfortable for him to go out, he can't go out. It's difficult. Yeah, Yikadish bebeito derech chaloin. Oh, he say it through the window or an open entrance. Neged halavon, opposite the moon. So, Mekar Adin, you could say it from inside the house. The proper way is outside, not to be under any roof. Even those who say you shouldn't even be under an awning, right? So right here in the front of the shul, in the top step over there, there's an awning there. It's better to be not there. Go out where there is no awning, okay? Under a tree is okay because it's natural and nature and stuff like that, so it's not going to be considered like a separation. But any man-made structure, some sort of oil, you don't want to really be under. Can you be under it? Yes. If you said it, it's fine. But the proper way is to be straight under the sky. The Ishay Israel, he says if I have to do it at home, then best is to open the door or open the window. It's more direct to the moon, right? More direct to the Shekhinah than to do it through the window or through the door. Well, obviously, if you have a glass door, okay. But he says, listen, if it's difficult to open the door or the window because it's cold, it's windy, it's rainy, I don't know how you can say it in the rain, but anyway, whatever conditions there are that make it difficult to open the window, it's okay to say it even through the window. It's okay to say it even through the window as long as he sees it through the glass. And he has to see it and not just merely a glow. So Rabbi Nachshon brings that up. He asks about the plane. I believe he said it will be fine. What may recite Birkat HaLevana while flying in a plane? If it is likely that one will miss the opportunity to recite Bracha at a later time. So he says if you're going to lose it, if you don't say it now, you can say it through the window, you can see it.
Close view.
Yeah, high close view, okay. Here he writes, even when outside, one should not stand under an overhang of a building or other structure. Under a tree is fine. He says over here, one can say Birkat HaLevana standing under an umbrella. Yeah, so building structures, no, but umbrella he seems to apparently let. The derech klal is no. The best way is to make sure you're not under a gag, but if you need to, you can be. So anything that's a roof structure, you should stay away from. But if you need to, one can. Okay. The Ramah says in source 39, you have to say it at night when the moon is shining and there is benefit from its light. Mishnah Berurah says, what does he mean by laila? Lafuke bein hashmashos. So you shouldn't say it bein hashmashos, between shkia and tzek. Mishnah Berurah says you shouldn't say it there. Because you want it to shine. And if the moon is covered with clouds, okay, what happens now? Here we're going to deal with the clouds business, I will tell you. If you have a cloud, everyone always asks, is it cloudy? Can I see it? What's the din? So, if the moon is covered with clouds, if the cloud is thin and faint, such that the moon is seen through it and one benefits from it, he may recite the beracha. So take a good look on page 49. He has here pictures for you. Everyone likes a picture. So on page 49, on the right side, you have a picture of a thin cloud. It's a little misty cloud. You can see the light of the moon, and you can have a nut from the glow of the moon. Simcha Brura, you can say it. You can say the bracha with a thin cloud when it's a misty cloud in front of it. If the cloud is thick, he may not recite the bracha. So here he has a thick cloud. You see it, it's thick, it's bigger. That you cannot say the bracha. If he started to recite the bracha, then it became covered with clouds. So I thought it's going to stay open, and I'm saying the bracha, and now it becomes covered. I already started. So you're going to tell me to finish it, right? Then he says the same is true if there's a screen separating him from the moon. In which case, the halacha is like regarding clouds. If there's a screen there's a filament on the window, let's say, a guy's saying it from the window, but there's like some sort of tint or screen or something like that, they're not going to see the light well. So this would be a problem. You cannot say it through there. The Ben Ish Chai says that if there's a cloud, even if it's thin, lo yivarech, you should not say the bracha. So the Ben Ish Chai says even a thin cloud, you cannot make Birkat HaLevana, Birkat HaLevana. Or Mordechai also rules, says Mordechai, of ilu im ha'anan dak biyoter, even if it's a very thin cloud, just a small little mist, you should not say Birkat HaLevana. So Ben Ish Chai and Mordechai, what about the Yalkut Yosef in source 43? He says when a thin cloud covers the moon, although the moon may be seen through the cloud, our custom, minhagenu, is to wait until the cloud goes away. But if you're worried that you might miss it because I don't have another chance, the cloud is a thin cloud, but it's not going away. So then maybe there he can say it. But if the thick cloud, one should definitely not say it. So the Yalkut Yosef is going to the Mishnah Berurah that if it's a thin cloud, you should wait. But if it's necessary, one can say the bracha with a thin cloud. I was asked a couple of months ago. I said, I don't know, it's a thin cloud. If you want, you can either wait or you can say. It depends. It's better to wait, but if you can't wait and it's getting later into the month, or you're not going to have another chance to say the bracha, you have what to rely on and to say it with a thin cloud. Better to wait, but if you need to say it, you have what to rely on. Now,
the weather. Quick question: If the weather is very cold, freezing, can I say all the priests, the Lashem and
you can say everything inside. You can say everything inside, but if you want to say the beginning inside and then go out to do the bracha and to come back in, one can also do that.
That's okay.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
Person doesn't have to, if it's very difficult to stay outside, do the whole thing. Listen, some people, they get a big fire and bren when they do the mitzvah, so they don't feel the cold. They can stay outside. Every time it gets a little difficult with the cold, I always remind myself of the story with the stipler, and he needed to put on the coat that was hanging on the tree. And he said 5 more minutes, Shabbat. He doesn't want to take from the tree. 5 more minutes, and he ended up going the whole shift without having to take off the coat from the tree. So if the stipler was able to do that in a time which was Sakaras Nefashos and with the Russian army and everything else, I don't know what our excuse is, a little bit cold. Listen, at the end of the day, person is cold, he's not feeling well, you have to put himself in sakana. Stand out, you can do it from the window, stuff like that. You have what to rely on those things. Okay, Magen Avraham deals with if someone sees that the moon is going to be covered before he can complete the bracha. Okay, it's not where I started the bracha, then the cloud came. That's fine. I see the clouds moving in and out rapidly, and I know if I'm going to start saying it, the cloud's going to come. Can I start or not? So he says he should refrain from beginning to recite it and wait for a better opportunity. The Mishnah Berurah and Chamavadia also say the same thing, that if you see clouds are coming in and out, don't start the bracha. Okay. However, Rav Ben Zion Abba Shaul writes that a person may begin to recite the bracha even if the moon will be covered before he finishes reciting it. He says, listen, we have something called toch kede dibur. Within the time to say Shalom Aleichem Rebbe. Right? For example, you hear thunder. When do you say the bracha? Toch kede dibur. As soon as it's thunder, I right away say the bracha. The thunder has to be the whole time? No. Lightning. I see the lightning. Toch kede dibur. I can say the bracha on the lightning.
So like 3 seconds. Shalom Aleichem Rabbi.
I can start it. I can start it.
Start within that.
And then I can finish the bracha. So I hear you. So Chaim Tzurba says, listen, the cloud's open. I'll start. I started talking to Gibor. It was still open, and I can finish the bracha. And so he's allowing you. If the moon is visible when one begins the bracha, it's acceptable to recite the bracha, even if it will be covered immediately. However, if the clouds are obscuring the moon, even light clouds which the moon can be seen, one should not recite the bracha on the moon. So Chaim Tzurba holds very makeable here. If for a second the cloud is not there, start the bracha, and it's okay. Take the dibur, and the bracha goes. And that's what Chaim Tzurba explains as well. What? Baruch atah Hashem. If you started that when the moon was clear, according to the Or L'Tzion, you're good to go. Okay. Again, I would say in the cases where it's already the last day and that's your last chance to do it, you have what to rely on. But if you're on day 7 or 8 and you still have time, you should wait. You shouldn't use this. What about a partially covered moon? Meaning I see part of the moon very well, but the other half of the moon is covered with the cloud. Take a look at that picture on page 50. So, in a case where the moon shines brightly and remain that way for the duration of the bracha, but it's partially covered by a thick cloud, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach held that one may recite Birkat HaLevana on a partially covered moon, as long as you can partially see it bright. One can say that. I believe Rabbi Nachshon also wrote over here. Hold on a second. Hey, the bracha may be recited. It's allowed to be recited if only a part of the moon is covered, but one can still benefit from its light. So if you can get the light from it, even a shtick of light, and it's partially covered, one is mutar to say Birkat HaLevana on a partially covered moon. Okay? If one began the bracha when the moon was clear, and then the moon became covered by a cloud, as one recited the bracha, one may finish the bracha. One initially should not recite the bracha if one sees a cloud approaching that might cover the moon in the middle of one's bracha. And then we talked about the Chacham Ben Zion Shaul in the Or L'Tzion that allowed you to start it, even if it's just for a brief second. If you can start right then, he allows you to do that as well.
So do we follow that? What do we do if we know for sure there's a cloud coming to the moon right now? There's 2-3 seconds.
You can rely on that if it's like the last night, and the only way to say Birkat HaLevana right now is if you rely on this Or L'Tzion.
In New York, sometimes it's cloudy. So the 7th day could be the last day, even compared to
Yeah.
So it's
Right. He brings down Chazon Avadia actually brings down the one who nevertheless recites the bracha has what to rely on. Since some poskim permit reciting the bracha even in such a circumstance when it's only open for a brief time. Right? Where you start. Chazon Avadia says we have what to rely on if you said it. So it's to be used in Shasatcha. You can use that kula. Okay. Anything else to add on here? Birkat HaLevana may be said after Chatzot. Generally, you should say Arvit and then say Birkat HaLevana. If it's cloudy outside and someone walks in and says, "Oh, there's no clouds right now," you can say Birkat HaLevana, and you know the rest of the night's going to be cloudy. So maybe you should go out and say Birkat HaLevana before Arvit. This way, you'll catch the you'll catch the moon, so to speak, right? That's doesn't have to, but that's the general way. It's Arvit, and you bring in the night, and then you do it. It doesn't have to.
Is it better for the rabbi to say for everybody, or everybody say it to themselves?
It's always better to do it in a minyan, and then say Kaddish afterwards. Yeah.
Everybody says themselves, or rabbi says
Oh, everyone should say it. One person should say it out loud, and everyone should say it as well. Well, one person says it out loud, and everyone should say it as well at the same time.
As well, the bracha. But some people don't know. They're just standing there, they're not so aware of the bracha, and they're relying on the readers,
Okay, so some people do that.
bracha to
But the
answer.
proper way is everyone should take the siddur or the card or whatever it is and say it together with the person saying it out loud. Okay, some more customs regarding Birkat HaLevana. We're on page 51. So Shulchan Aruch says you should say 3 times Siman Tov Tieh Lechol Yisrael. Okay, and Baruch Yotzrech and everything else that we say. The Ramah says you dance v'roikeid gimel pa'amim kinegda v'omer kishem sha'ani roikeid, right? The same way that I'm dancing, and then he says tipol alehem, that should fall upon them like a stone, based on a pasuk in Shemot 15:16 in Yasher, and then he says it like a stone. They shall be still. They shall fall. And then he says, right, l'shalom aleichem. So by the Ashkenazim, they say Shalom Aleichem, and the person who hears it says Aleichem Shalom. So here he explains that because you just said they should fall like a stone, talking about the Goyim, so I want to make sure that we're saying to the Goyim and not to Jews. So therefore, to the Jews around us, we say Shalom Aleichem. Like, we didn't mean you. We like. We don't want stones to fall on you. So that's what they say Shalom Aleichem. And they answer back Aleichem Shalom. We say Dav Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam because Malchus David and the HaLevana will be again coming back. Knesset Yisrael we talk about, and different things that we say, and then we should celebrate and dance. Just like a wedding. The Ramah says you should dance like you dance at a wedding. So if you dance at a wedding like this, you should dance like this. If you dance in circles, you should dance in circles. However you dance at a wedding, that's how you should dance at Kiddush Levana. By us, the minhag is to say Shalom Aleichem at the end. And in our siddur, it doesn't say anyone has to say Aleichem Shalom back to you. That is an Ashkenazic minhag. They say Shalom Aleichem, and they answer back Aleichem Shalom. By us, it's just to say Shalom Aleichem 3 times. We also have a minhag for many to say the word Yitzchak, the name Yitzchak afterwards, 2 or 3 times. Some like to laugh after Kiddush Levana, after saying Yitzchak. And then some minhag to also look at somebody named Yitzchak. So, Baruch Hashem, we have more than one person here whose name is Yitzchak, not in this class, but in the shul in general. And so you shouldn't let him go away before everyone takes a look at him after Kiddush Levana. As they say, it's a segula to look at a Yitzchak after Kiddush Levana. Now, by Ashkenazim, I guess so. Good one. The Ishe Yisrael says by the Ashkenazim, when they say Shalom Aleichem, their minhag is to answer back Aleichem Shalom. So he says, pay attention to where you're up to. If you're in the middle of the beracha and someone says Shalom Aleichem, you should not be saying Aleichem Shalom back to them. You're in the middle of the beracha. Same thing he says, if you're in the middle of a pasuk, you're reading in this pasuk there, Hashem Hashem, and someone says Shalom Aleichem, you don't answer them back Aleichem Shalom at that point. You have to finish the pasuk. So the beracha, you have to finish the beracha. If you're in the middle of pasuk, you have to wait to finish the pasuk. You don't answer back Aleichem Shalom unless it's at a proper time to answer back. And then he deals with the issue that you brought up before about Tisha B'Av and Yom Kippur, and he wants you to put on shoes, and he wants you to do a pesimcha, and you should be happy, and stuff like that. Let's just see what I wanted to bring down over here. 397, halacha 81. Okay, just by the way, when you say Keshem Sha'anu Marikadim Kinegdech, right? It's customary for one to lift one's heel, just as one would do when reciting Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. So you'd lift up your heels during Kadosh. That's how you would do it over there. Many communities have a custom to sing and dance. However, when reciting Birkat HaLevana on Shabbat or Yom Tov, right? If you need to, and it's better not to say Birkat HaLevana on Shabbat or Yom Tov for different reasons. But if you have to, you could, but you don't want to dance afterwards because you're not allowed to dance. Similarly, if one recites Birkat HaLevana before Tisha B'Av, then one should not dance after Tisha B'Av either. Or before, if you're saying it before Tisha B'Av, right? No one should not dance. Sephardi guy doesn't have a Sephardi Birkat HaLevana pamphlet with him. Can he use an Ashkenazic one?
Yes.
So he says yes. Okay. Okay.
When did they dance like a wedding, and when did they do the Kadosh Kadosh? I think the same pasuk it says to dance.
We do Kishem Shanachdu Markidim, right? The same way we dance. Right. That's when we pick up. The Siddur says, lift up your heels, right? So you do it 3 times.
Okay.
3 times you hit three times. And then the Ramah says you dance like you dance at a wedding at Kiddush Levana. This would be after Kiddush Levana. So after the Kaddish, people, simplest way, no one's going to start dancing like this, but if you get everybody in a quick circle and you sing some songs about the Chodesh, or some good stuff, some bitachon songs or something like that, that's a proper way to make Kiddush Levana.
We wait for 5 minutes.
So Baruch Hashem, we went through this list of halachot. At the Hashem, we look forward to continuing next time in the series.
Baruch.